our team at Prison Professors works to help people who are either facing time in jail or prison, or people who have gone through jail and prison, prepare for successful lives upon release. And there's a reason that we want to do that. Right now, in 2020, when we are preparing this document, there is a lot of things going on in the country with COVID-19 complicating matters, with massive unemployment as a result of COVID-19 and other matters, with social injustice protests and Black Lives Matters movement going across the country. All of these factors really influence us as people who have gone through the criminal justice system, because we are going to face more challenges than anybody else when we're on our way back to society. And that's something that I know a great deal about. My name is Michael Santos, and I was incarcerated for 26 years. But during that time, I had an opportunity to learn a great deal from the people with whom I served at time, and as well as how the system operated. And as many people know, Black Lives Matter is a really spills into the prison system, because the prison system is really overpopulated, disproportionately populated with people of color, with people who have lacked access to many of the opportunities that other people take for granted. So it's really important for us as a society to do everything within our power to help people either going into the system or coming out of the system or serving time in the system, to figure out, well, what are some of the ancillary consequences of mass incarceration? What can we do to resolve the problem? Because the problem isn't only limited to defunding the police or rethinking the criminal justice system outside. We also have to be thinking about what goes on inside of our nation's jails and prison system. And if we look at the ancillary consequences of mass incarceration, we know that the longer we expose somebody to corrections, the less likely those people are to emerge successfully. And right now, during the problems that we are having as a society, it makes it even worse. So it's really important to provide the guidance and provide courses that are missing inside of America's jails and prisons. And we need to provide the types of content that people in jail and prison can relate to. And that's what our team at Prison Professors does. We're so grateful to have coordinated sponsorship from the people that you see below us, CBDTV.com and the Straight A Guide Foundation, that allows us to continue to produce content to teach and inspire people inside of jails and prisons. But the thing that we have to teach them most is how to develop a CEO mindset, whether they are in a jail or a prison. How can they start pursuing an objective pathway that puts them on the road to the earliest possible release date, the highest propensity of success when they come home? That doesn't happen by accident. And it doesn't happen by simply saying that we have a correctional system. We need an objective path, not a subjective path. And that is what our program is all about. It is about helping people understand that there are three prongs to building a life of success after somebody has been exposed to jail or prison. And we would love to turn back the clock. We would love to be able to say that there is not a social injustice going on where we are exposing people to jail or prison, but then putting them on a treadmill that makes it very difficult for them to succeed upon release. We have to live in the world as it exists. And if we're going to live in the world as it exists, we've really got to develop this strategy to come through. And that's what our three-legged stool is all about. We teach people that you have to document your strategy. What am I going to do to emerge successfully? What am I going to do to disrupt the narrative that currently exists in society, where the longer we expose somebody to corrections, the less likely those people are to function successfully upon release? We need to teach them how to develop their own tools and resources and tactics. That's the second leg of our three-legged stool. So we need them to document their strategy. We need people in jail and prison to develop their own tools and resources, but we also need them to measure their progress. And so we create content that helps people do that. We help them develop a mental toughness so that when they come out of the society, they've got their own board of directors, a board of directors that they have helped to create and nurture. And we want to give that board of directors that every person in prison or jail should develop the tools and the resources so that those people can advocate on behalf of the people coming home. But the reality is that prison isolates and separates people from society. So we need to teach them the strategies that work for everybody on our team at Prison Professors, and that's what we're doing here. We are showing them how they can influence the external stakeholders of this criminal justice system, whether it's staff members in the system, whether it's potential employers, whether it's supervised release people who will oversee their transition into society, whether it's people who will give them credit, housing, open opportunities for them to live as a law-abiding, contributing citizen with their dignity intact. That is something that is missing inside of our system, and it's something that we need to invest and create resources to help people restore confidence so that they know they're going to be embraced, they're going to have a place in society. We need them to develop a pathway to resilience before the crisis. That's what our team does at Prison Professors, is help people develop the big picture. And as somebody who has gone through 26 years in prison, I can help those people develop that tools. Everybody on our team can help people develop that tool of personal development. Given the world as it exists, given the paucity of resources that exist inside of jails and prisons, we want to create pathways and tools and tactics that will help the people inside build their own team that will put them into alignment for a success on the other side of this journey as we experienced it, our team at Prison Professors. If we help people beat the odds, that is one way we develop a pathway to helping people become the CEO of their own lives, even if they're in jail. And what we have right here with this very video that you are watching is a case study that shows precisely how our team is using this pathway to get more content into jails and prisons. You see, it's very expensive to produce this content, to create new digital assets every day, to create courses and books. And the reality is that people in jail and prison don't have resources, and the prison system doesn't really want to spend resources on bringing courses inside, or at least that has been our experience. It's been very difficult for people inside to get this type of information. And we're very grateful to forward-thinking, innovative thinking administrators like those at the California Department of Corrections or at the Mecklenburg County Jail or in the Federal Bureau of Prisons who uses Prison Professors courses inside of those institutions right now. But we are going to expand this effort by developing these partnerships and sponsorships from organizations like you see below, the CBDTV.com and Straight A Guide Foundation. And I want to show you how that pathway began. One of the things that we teach at Prison Professors is we never ask anybody to do anything that we didn't do while we were incarcerated, but also what we are not that we are not doing right now. And right now we are building our own three-legged stool of creating a documented strategy of how we are going to influence lives inside of jails and prisons, of what tools and resources we are going to develop to help us execute on that strategy, and how we are going to measure progress. And you can see that through our 10-step course that we're currently using in jails and prisons. You can see that through the ways that we teach people how to advocate for themselves, how to bring mentors into their lives. We make this freely available to anybody who visits our Prison Professors YouTube channel. We make it freely available to anybody who visits or accesses our Prison Professors podcast. And we hope that you will support this effort by not only subscribing to the podcast and the YouTube channel, but also supporting those who sponsor our work, like CBDTV.com. And this is what allows us to create more books, more courses that we can take into jails and prisons to help more people emerge successfully. That's really what part of our program is we interview other formerly incarcerated people who emerged successfully. It wasn't easy, but everybody who does really pursued a deliberate path. And it's important to recognize that we need the voice of the formerly incarcerated person who emerged successfully in order to connect with people who are going through that system, because they are feeling as if they have been marginalized by society. They have borne the brunt of the movement that Black Lives Matter is pursuing and we're bringing more awareness to with a social injustice that shows the massive number of people incarcerated in America today are disproportionately people of color, people of lower economic means. We have to help them grasp what they can do. If you look at one of our playlists, you'll see the story of Mario Mercado, for example. He was an individual that was locked inside of prisons starting when he was 12 years old. And when you go into prison when you're 12 years old, you learn to live in that environment. But the more skills you learn to live in that environment results in you having a less likely chance of succeeding when you come home. And so it's no surprise that he transitioned out of the juvenile justice system and went into the California prison system. But it was in the California prison system that Mario talks about that he became exposed to the Prison Professors program, and it changed his mindset. He now has that CEO mindset, and he's now building his life. And we try to profile, besides formerly incarcerated people, we profile business leaders who talk about what they would like to see from somebody who has gone through the criminal justice system that wants to transition into the job market. We profile them with hopes of helping people in jail understand how do they become their own entrepreneurs? How do they create their own jobs? Because the reality is, despite all the movements and the protests and the unemployment that's going on in the country, people who leave jail and prison will have the least likelihood of being able to transition into the job market unless they develop these skills. But we also want them to learn how to create their own jobs. And so we reach out to social influencers. We reach out to business leaders. We profile people who have done it, who have succeeded. And it's because of the corporate sponsorship that we have received from primarily CBDTV.com that we have reached out to nonprofits like the Straight A Guide Foundation, an organization that I've had a lot of involvement with even while I was in prison, and other organizations that help us spread this message. And one of the first people, again, this is a case study of how I do it, how we build our three-legged stools. I went to have a meeting with Jameson Rogers, who's the CEO of CBDFX, a consumer brand that provides CBD for pets, CBD for people, CBD in every form, whether it's gummy bears or balms or topical or other types of products. They produce it. They're the leading manufacturer. And as you'll see on the interview that I'm going to profile with Jameson Rogers, we spoke about the injustice. We spoke about mass incarceration. We spoke about the ancillary consequences. And we said, what can we do to create a collaborative effort to generate more resources so that we can help these people who do not have resources, even if the government is withholding funds to promote programming inside of jails and prisons. And it's through that collaborative effort that I built a bigger effort with the Straight A Guide Foundation, and you'll see me interviewing Roman Hussein, who's the director of marketing for the Straight A Guide Foundation. You will see how we interviewed Bo Wilson, who is the CEO of PANDORA Marketing, or how we interviewed Rich Folk, the CEO of Central Innovations, and how we interviewed Jason Creek, the CEO of Intermarketing Media, strike that. And all of these efforts, including the God's Gifts Foundation, all of these corporations came together to provide us the sponsorship. And once we had that, we reached out to John Bohan of Social TYZE, who helped us get this message in front of more people. And that is the pathway that led to CBDTV.com, which is an entirely new channel for people to purchase their CBD products, whether it's products for their pets, whether it's products for themselves. And the revenues that generate from CBDTV.com go towards sponsoring this effort so that when we have more resources to reach more prison administrators, more jail administrators, more people who have the capacity to influence people in jail and prisons. Those people do not have access to the internet, but because we produce this educational content, we can create this inside-outside pattern where we publish it for free on YouTube and on podcasts. We give as much away as we possibly can, and we do ask jail and prison administrators to allocate some resources to continue this, because we want to provide new content every single day so that we can teach and inspire people in jail and prison, or people that are going into jail and prisons, so that they can understand, what can I do to get the best possible outcome, so I can come back to society strong, with my dignity intact, be able to pursue a life of meaning and relevance as a contributing citizen. And I just want to say, my name is Michael Santos. I want to extend a personal debt of gratitude to the leaders that have helped us build this collaborative relationship to establish CBDTV.com. We are going to ask you to support our programming by subscribing to the YouTube channel, subscribing to the podcast channel, and if you need CBD products, we ask you to consider our sponsors, because that's how we can work together to be the change that we want to see in the world. And what we want to see is people coming out of jail and prisons and be able to live lives of meaning, relevance, and with their dignity intact as full members of our community, rather than being marginalized by a system that brought many of them into prison under unjust circumstances. So we want to help those people, and we're going to ask you to help us help them. That's what makes this a great community effort. Thanks.